October 12, 2007, Manchester, England. A piercing scream cuts through the damp night air. It echoes along a quiet row of terraced houses, where windows are shuttered against the chill and street lamps cast a pale orange glow. A neighbor rushes to the window, drawn by the sound, but sees only a shadow moving quickly across the narrow street. The silence that follows feels heavier than the scream itself, pressing down like fog. Inside one of those modest homes, chaos has erupted. A chair lies overturned, its wooden leg cracked against the floor. The faint scent of iron drifts into the air, metallic and unmistakable. On the wall, a family portrait hangs crooked, its glass frame fractured as if jolted in the struggle. The ticking of a kitchen clock continues in defiance, each second too steady for the horror unfolding just feet away. SFX, distant dog barking. Muffled siren, a single light bulb sways in the living room, its weak glow flickering over something sprawled on the carpet. The figure is motionless, lifeless. A phone, ripped from the receiver, lies off the hook, its steady tone humming like a warning no one has answered. In the distance, the faint wail of an approaching ambulance builds, though it's clear it's already too late. Music swells, low, ominous tone. Outside, the neighborhood stirs. Curtains part, doors creak open. Curious faces emerge into the cold night, their breaths rising in pale clouds. Someone whispers, "What happened?" Another mutters, "Not here, not on this street." But the truth is only beginning to take shape. Police cars screech to a halt. Their blue lights flash against the red-bricked houses, washing everything in strobe-like pulses. Officers hurry up the path, their boots crunching over gravel, radios crackling with clipped urgency. Neighbors watch, frozen in place, caught between fear and fascination. Cut to photo montage, blurred streetlights. Close-up of shattered glass, a lone officer's silhouette. The door slams shut behind the first responders. The house swallows them whole, concealing whatever lies inside. Minutes pass. Too many minutes. And then, at last, an officer emerges. His expression is grim, unreadable, but his eyes tell enough. Something unspeakable has happened here, and yet this is not the story of a single terrible night. This is the unraveling of something far stranger, darker, and more deceptive than anyone on this street could ever have imagined. Because behind the ordinary facade of this home, a double life has been hiding in plain sight. What secret could drive such devastation into the heart of a quiet neighborhood? She is 34 years old. Her name, Claire Matthews. To neighbors, she is the kind of woman who waves from her garden gate every morning, always with a smile, even when rushing off to work. Claire is a nurse at the local hospital, known for long shifts and an endless reserve of patience. Colleagues remember her quick laugh, her ability to calm even the most distressed patient. At home, she is a mother, a sister, a friend. Her life is woven into the very fabric of the community, though no one suspects how suddenly those threads will be torn apart. Childhood photo montage, school uniform, family beach trip, smiling with friends. She loves simple pleasures, tending roses in her small backyard, baking on weekends, catching up on crime dramas with her teenage daughter. In one light-hearted story, her younger brother recalls how Claire once rescued a stray cat during a rainstorm, bringing it inside wrapped in her own coat. That was Claire, he says, always putting others first. Interview clip, brother smiling faintly. Her family is close-knit, though like any, not without its struggles. Claire's husband, David Matthews, is 38, an IT consultant who often works late into the night. To many, he appears steady, practical, and private. Friends describe him as polite, though more reserved than his wife. He keeps a quiet distance at neighborhood gatherings, preferring small conversations over big crowds. Still, he is seen as dependable, a man who always turns up to drive his daughter to football practice on weekends. Their daughter, Emily, is just 14. Bright, sharp-eyed, and restless with teenage energy. Teachers say she has inherited her mother's empathy, often stepping in when classmates are teased. At home, she spends long hours sketching, her notebooks filled with dreamlike drawings of birds and trees. Emily is devoted to her mother, but like many her age, sometimes frustrated by the rules of the house. Claire's younger sister, Anna, lives only a few streets away. She is 29, recently engaged, and often visits to share cups of tea with Claire in the kitchen. "She was my anchor," Anna says. Whenever life felt too fast, I'd come here and sit with her. She'd always know what to say. Interview clip, sister reminiscing, beyond the immediate family. Neighbors recall Claire as a steady presence. Mrs. Harding from next door tells how Claire once helped her after a fall, staying with her until paramedics arrived. She didn't hesitate. That's who she was, the older woman explains, her eyes glistening. And then, there are the other figures, those who will soon become names in police reports and newspaper headlines. Detective Inspector James Holloway is among the first investigators called to the scene. He is in his mid-40s, experienced, meticulous, known in the department for his calm under pressure. Colleagues say he rarely raises his voice, preferring careful observation to sudden conclusions. In this case, his role will be pivotal. David Matthews, of course, will become a central figure in the unfolding story, not as a suspect, but as a husband suddenly thrust into scrutiny. Neighbors describe him as hard to read. Some see a quiet man coping with a demanding career. Others sense a detachment that raises subtle unease. There is also Michael Turner, a family friend in his early 40s. He and David met years ago through work, and their families often attended barbecues together in the summer. Michael is described as affable, outgoing, and always ready with a joke. He is close enough to the family that Emily refers to him as Uncle Mike. A secondary figure soon to emerge is Claire's colleague, Sarah Hughes, a fellow nurse who often shared night shifts. Sarah describes Claire as her confidant, the one person she could talk to during the hardest hours. She kept me sane, Sarah says softly, even on the longest nights. Cut to B-roll, hospital corridor, blurred staff in motion. Among the neighbors, two names stand out in early reports. Paul and Linda Cooper live across the street. They admit to police that they often noticed unusual comings and goings at the Matthews home, though details vary. Paul insists he saw an unfamiliar car parked late at night on several occasions. Linda, however, says it belonged to a cousin. Contradiction. Neither account is dismissed, but neither is fully confirmed. Each of these people, family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors, will soon be swept into a widening circle of questions. Their memories, their words, even their silences will carry weight. The story that begins with Claire's life, bright and ordinary, is about to fracture under the pressure of suspicion. Music, low, uneasy strings. For now, we see Claire as her community saw her, nurturing, tireless, quietly strong. But the image is fragile. The ordinary rhythms of her days are about to shatter, and as police peel back the layers of this night, they will uncover truths no one could have anticipated. Something has already begun to stir beneath the surface, and what they are about to find inside that quiet Manchester home will change everything. The first call for help comes at 10:42 p.m. A neighbor dials in, her voice trembling as she tells the operator about screams, about a shadow she swears she saw moving quickly across the street. Not in 111 audio. Within minutes, sirens slice through the quiet of the neighborhood. Blue lights flash across the brick houses, painting them in harsh pulses of color. B-roll, police cars arriving, flashing lights reflected on windows. Officers step inside the Matthews home. The door is unlocked, SFX knocking, then door creak. The living room is dim, lit only by a single bulb swinging above. It casts long, uneven shadows across the floor. There they find Claire. She lies face down on the carpet. Her body is still, her skin already cooling. A pool of dark liquid spreads outward, seeping into the fibers beneath her. The scene tells a story of sudden violence. A chair knocked over, a shattered picture frame. The telephone ripped from the receiver, its steady tone buzzing through the silence like a warning. But small details make the officers pause. The front door shows no sign of forced entry. Red flag. And yet, drawers in the living room stand slightly ajar, as if disturbed in haste, or staged to appear so. Red flag. Outside, neighbors huddle together, watching the activity with wide eyes. One recalls seeing a man leaving the house earlier, though she cannot describe his face. Unconfirmed. Another insists she saw nothing unusual at all. Their conflicting memories add layers of confusion to the already chaotic scene. Cut to B-roll. Police tape being strung across the street, neighbors clustered in doorways. Paramedics attempt resuscitation briefly, though the futility is evident. At 10:57 p.m., Claire is pronounced dead. The sound of the radio crackles with the official word carrying weight through the house. An officer carefully covers her body with a white sheet. The image is stark, final, and unbearable for those who knew her. David Matthews, her husband, arrives minutes later. He has been out of the house, claiming to be returning from a late client meeting. SFX car door slam. When told what has happened, he collapses against the hood of his car, hands pressed to his face. Witnesses describe his grief as overwhelming, uncontrollable. Yet in the quiet space of official reports, police note something else. His clothes appear freshly changed, free of any stains. Red flag. Inside, investigators continue their sweep. They notice the upstairs windows are latched shut, the back door firmly locked. How then could anyone have entered or left so quickly? Red flag. In the kitchen, a half-drunk cup of tea sits cooling beside an open magazine. Whatever unfolded, it began in a moment of normality, of ordinary routine, suddenly ruptured. Music, low, pulsing undercurrent. Detectives begin securing evidence. Photographs are taken. Bags are sealed. Every small object, every fingerprint, every thread of fabric will be catalogued. But in these early hours, the house feels less like a crime scene and more like a puzzle. Pieces scattered but not yet fitting together. Neighbors are questioned at the curb. Some provide fragments that may matter. Others admit they were asleep, blinds drawn against the world outside. Meanwhile, word spreads quickly. By midnight, the quiet residential street is crowded with press vans, their camera lights glaring through the mist. Cut to B-roll, camera flashes, police pushing reporters back. The community, once bound by ordinary routines, now stares into the glow of headlines being written in real time. They whisper about shadows, about secrets, about the unthinkable tragedy that has shattered the Matthews family. As dawn approaches, the questions multiply faster than answers. How did violence enter this quiet home? Why were there no clear signs of struggle beyond the living room? And who was the shadow that slipped away into the night? Investigators now turn their focus inward, beginning the painstaking task of reconstructing events minute by minute. The investigation is about to begin. They move like clockwork. The morning after Claire's death, October 13, 2007, Detective Inspector James Holloway pins a timeline to the wall. Teams fan out. Forensics comb every room. Officers begin door-to-door canvassing. Statements arrive in fits and starts. Each one is a thread. The job is to see which threads knit into a pattern and which will pull apart as false leads. At first, the work is pragmatic and small. Log every entry. Photograph every surface. Bag every item that might mean something later. Phones are seized. Computers are imaged. SFX, zipper of evidence bag. Holloway orders an exhaustive call history search. He wants CCTV from every shop, every petrol station, every traffic camera on the route home. He wants purchase records. He wants normal life under a microscope. Within 48 hours, a cast of persons of interest emerges, introduced not as criminals, but as puzzle pieces. David Matthews, 38, husband, IT consultant, reports a late client meeting and a return home within minutes of the first 999 call. Michael Turner, early 40s, family friend, social at barbecues, frequently at the Matthews home. Seen in photos laughing with Claire. Sarah Hughes, co-worker, night shift nurse, close enough to share confidences. Paul and Linda Cooper, neighbors who report inconsistent sightings of an unfamiliar car. Each is interviewed, each provides an account. None is yet accused. All remain subject to verification. Investigators chase the obvious first. David's alibi is checked. Client records and a receptionist's note place him at a meeting earlier that night, but phone tower pings show a handover of location that is, at first glance, ambiguous. SFX keyboard typing. The team marks it, unconfirmed, and notes it again. Michael offers an alibi that seems casual and convenient, at home with his wife. A neighbor initially reports seeing him walk away from the Matthews house shortly before the disturbance. Later she retracts part of that statement. Contradiction. These human contradictions are as common as dust in an investigation. They slow the case and complicate the narrative. Red herrings appear with convincing logic. A gray hatchback is reported by Paul Cooper, parked late on 2 occasions. The vehicle seems to match a fleeting image on a shop CCTV clip pulled from a corner store. At first the clip looks promising. There is a car, a figure moving quickly, a license plate that almost reads out. Reveal surveillance footage. The press latches on. Overnight, speculation grows. But the license plate is unreadable when enhanced. A later check shows the vehicle belongs to a visiting cousin who admits to borrowing the hatchback that night. The sighting shifts from lead to distraction. Red flag. Another detour comes from a hospital colleague. Sarah tells detectives that 2 nights earlier, she overheard Claire arguing with an unidentified man. The story sends officers to scour hospital logs for visitors and security footage. They pull swaths of records, waiting room receipts, sign-in sheets, and initially think the argument points to an external aggressor. But the tapes reveal no such confrontation. Instead, Claire is shown leaving the staff room alone, finishing a cup of tea. The alleged argument becomes a misremembered stress moment, and the line of inquiry is closed. Red flag. Forensic leads come slowly and unevenly. Early lab notes report fibers inconsistent with the household carpet on Claire's sweater. A trace of a solvent, used in domestic cleaning products, turns up on a door handle. Unconfirmed. Toxicology returns show no exotic poisoning. The cause of death is consistent with blunt force trauma noted at autopsy, but the finer points await full lab analysis. Each tentative finding spawns multiple follow-ups. Who bought the cleaning fluid? When was it last used? Who had access to that handle? Where do those fibers come from? SFX, hum of centrifuge. Digital breadcrumbs begin to produce clearer paths. Phone records place a handset near a convenience store at 10:12 p.m. CCTV from that shop shows a figure in a dark jacket making a small purchase. A loyalty card receipt, initially filed among mundane evidence, becomes oddly significant when analysts match the card number to an online account registered in the name of Michael Turner. An unlikely bridge from everyday retail to a violent night. SFX camera click. Investigators obtain the CCTV for the convenience store, then cross-reference timestamps with mobile phone pings. The footage is grainy but consistent. The same jacket appears on a different clip near the Matthews Street at 10:08 p.m. Reveal surveillance footage. Suddenly the scattered traces begin to align. Not everything fits neatly. A stray cigarette butt recovered near the back gate tests inconclusive for DNA. An anonymous tip steers officers to a transient with a minor record. Fingerprints clear him. The press, hungry for certainty, publish early names and frames. Police leak control fails intermittently, forcing Holloway to manage both public narrative and procedural integrity. That misstep costs time and invites threats of civil action from parties named in error. The investigation must now contend with noise generated outside its control. Then the breakthrough occurs, not a dramatic arrest, but a technical quiet convergence of evidence that changes the tone of the inquiry. A small purchase, a loyalty card transaction time-stamped at 10:11 p.m., cross-matched with CCTV showing a man wearing a distinctive jacket, and fibers from that jacket that forensic analysts find are consistent with traces recovered from Claire's clothing. Phone metadata places the same handset in the vicinity. The pieces sediment into an outline. The team runs the matches twice. They bring in a specialist to re-examine the fibers and the timestamp logs. SFX, low sustained tone. It is the kind of convergent evidence detectives dream of. Digital records aligning with physical trace. Witness fragments fitting the shape of a timeline. Not proof of guilt, not yet. But it is the first time the case narrows from a scatter of possible culprits to a single, unavoidable direction. A name is circled on the board. The investigators feel the shift. Calm calculation replaced by focused urgency. Questions remain in bold. Why was that person there? Possible motive. How did the entry occur with no sign of forced entry? Unresolved. As the day closes on the investigation's second week, the work pivots from broad canvas to concentrated pursuit. Files multiply, subpoenas are drafted. Holloway orders a controlled interview. The quiet street has become a mapped scene of intersecting data points. Every lead that once widened the circle of suspicion now funnels toward one person. The moment of confrontation lies ahead. The next act will test whether this convergent trail is enough to hold in court, or whether, like so many promising threads before it, it will fray under scrutiny. It happens on October 27, 2007, just 2 weeks after Claire's death. Detectives arrive quietly at dawn, slipping into the neighborhood before most have stirred. A knock at the door, firm and final. SFX knocking. A man answers. Within moments, he is handcuffed, read his rights, and escorted to a waiting police car. The breakthrough from surveillance footage, loyalty card records, and forensic fibers has led them here. This is the moment investigators believe the case has cracked open. The arrest rocks the community. Neighbors gather on sidewalks, hushed and wide-eyed as Officer